Help us, Jesus.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you on here today. Do me a favor as you come on board. I want you to press the share button. I have a very special guest today. I believe this is going to be a wonderful broadcast, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the Lord wants to say with this. But as you come on board, you can press the share button and you can comment. And, make sure to put your comments out there where you're watching from, and we'd love to give you a shout out if we see that. So the thing is, today I got a special friend. He's more than just a friend. He's a mentor to me and my wife. I've been walking with for a long time. It's crazy how time just goes by really fast. So this will be the last broadcast I do until the month of August for the Let's Talk segment. So with this said, I'm going to give you just a moment to press the share button, get the word out, and make sure that you just share it to your friends, to your family. This is going to be a really cool conversation. All right. So I really am I'm thankful and appreciative to my dear friend and mentor, Brad McClendon. I'm going to bring Brad on here now. What's happening, Brad? What's happening, brother?
What's up, man?
What's up? I'm so glad you're on here today, man. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, I appreciate you having me, bro.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm not going to be polished and I'm not going to be like putting on an air of, well, let's talk about hallelujah the Lord. No, we're just going to just chat a little bit.
All right, let her flow.
And let her flow. I was thinking, I got up real early this morning and I went to the gym, did my workout. Then I had to go to Beckley and buy some dog food, come back. But as I was driving back, I was like, you know what? Me and Marcy have been walking with you since September of 2014. And and there's been levels, because I was a mess when you met me. Marcy we were all a mess. And I think that's part of the hard thing that I've gone through. And this is learning how to walk with somebody.
Oh, yeah. That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. It's easy to disconnect. It's easy to get mad, I've been mad at you. I ain't gonna lie, I've been mad at you before.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's part of relationship. That's called relationship.
Exactly. You don't realize you're gonna be mad at somebody if you really want it.
Yeah. Like that time we sat down at a restaurant before we had to do that conference.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We sat down I think I was preaching that night, wasn't I?
Yeah, it was the first night.
Yeah, I'm actually getting ready to do the message. And I preached on not being offended. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, you always got to walk through it first.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So anyways, everybody that you're coming on board, this is Brad McClendon. He's our mentor. He's our spiritual father. I mean, do you sometimes, when people use the term spiritual father and spiritual mother, doesn't that get on your nerves sometimes?
Well, yeah, because sometimes, people use spiritual father, but they really don't want you to be.
Well, they don't. I can't tell you how many people called me Papa Scott is not walking.
Oh, yeah, some of them, and you probably know this too. I had one the other day say, every time I go to pick up the phone, I know I've got to call you because I'm having an issue. I just already start getting mad because I know you're going to tell me the truth.
Right.
And he said, so I just don't call you. Oh man. Yeah, if you're really gonna have a real spiritual father, and then you need to get ready to go ahead and be offended, because there's no perfect fleshly father, but there are great fathers out there. They may have some flaws, but they're probably trying their best to stay obedient to the Lord. And that's probably more of what God is looking at, kind of like what he did with David. I don't know about you, but David definitely would have never been my spiritual father. I mean, we would have killed that guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Well,
I mean, I can't imagine, some of the offenses that people had when Paul started being fathers over churches.
mhm.
I mean, the very guy that had a terrible flaw, which was anger and criticism. Not counting, you know, killing the church. Murdering people in the name of the Lord.
Yeah,
That'd be tough.
very
You
much.
know. But these days, if you see a flaw, you get on YouTube and you expose them.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I count with my hand, dude, 5 people who were always saying, "Papa Scott, Papa Scott, Papa Scott this, Papa Scott that," and they absolutely got offended with something. I guess I don't know, something in me offended them, and so
Right.
now I'm not Papa, I'm Satan.
Right. But you know what? As far as the father's concerned, going to our side, all of that stuff changes us if we'll embrace it, and it's also things that, and I don't know about you, but when things like that happen, I really start asking the Lord, where is it in this that I can learn something from you that I need to change,
Yeah,
and there's no telling how many times He's allowed my accusers to lead me to the Lord in a different way to be able to learn some of the strongholds that I've allowed, in my own life that's left me blindsided. And there's been times where, I've gone to my accusers and say, you know what, I think you're right about this, and of course that kind of blows them away because, and not in a like, I'm proud of that because I didn't expect that, but kind of blows them away thinking, wait a minute, he might be okay, because he's actually learning from our own, our own accusations. And sometimes I've done that and they go, you know what, man, even though we were right, we were wrong in the way that we did it. But by that time I've gotten delivered, and it doesn't bother me as bad. And so, but I know this, if my accusers are bothering me, I know I've got something in me that I need to get clean with.
that's so right on because we've had to walk through that probably the last, honest to God, 2 years since we moved to West Virginia. I mean, I came here and I even have family members turn on me,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then between that, then I had people that you don't think are going to turn on you, they do. So I remember talking to you. I said, man, I'm just tired of all this. Like people are always like coming up against me, like. And the thing is, some of the accusations, like it's the spirit behind it. And you said to me, I'll never forget this. If it's bothering you? Is it what man in you is it bothering? Is it bothering
Hmm.
the new man or is it bothering the old man? Well, it's obviously
Right.
the old man, and so
Right.
that's a place that I haven't been delivered yet.
Right, right. Because I mean, and I hate this, but Paul says love never gets offended and
Right.
doesn't take in an account of wrongs. You know, I'm probably a D on count of wrongs.
50 minus.
But it's all for our good. Honestly, I have to. If I'm going to believe in God, I'm going to believe in all of Him. So if He's telling me not only by the Spirit, but by the Spirit of that Word or that Bible that we read, that all things are working together for my good because I'm loving Him, then I have to look at it through a mentality of a question like this:
Yeah.
where is this working for me through you, Lord?
Right.
And that's tough because And you know as well as I do, and some of the people even out there watching, there are so many trials and there's so many things that happen to us that we would think we don't deserve.
Mhm.
But if we could look through it through the lens of, okay, Lord, where is this working for me through your spirit? That in itself will change us coming, it'll literally transform us out of the old, all the emotions that want to get us offended or wants to get us sad or wants to get us so self-focused that we become self-martyrdom or whatever it may be. Just thinking of it that way submit causes the carnal mind to have to submit to the way God wants to think through you. You know, that in itself will deliver you because now you've made the carnal mind have to look through the lens of Christ. Man, when that starts, the carnal mind starts getting taken over by the spirit, you know.
You know, I was recently in Louisiana, and I hear the Lord in the shower. Okay, and that's my time. I just hear the Lord, and I was there, and I'm hearing this, and all of a sudden, I really started blessing those who are accusing me. I really started praying for them, and I realized, oh my gosh, I'm reaping what I sowed. I did this like 30 years ago. I remember talking about pastors and leaders, and now thank God I didn't have social media back then. You know,
Right.
I
But
mean,
God does.
yes, it does. Now, can
He
you
knows what's
imagine?
going on.
Exactly. If I'd had social media back then, I would have been Facebook and all what I think and
Oh yeah.
trying to bring everybody in. But the thing is, I still did it. And when you experience the reaping, now that's the thing. People don't understand. You're going to reap what you sow.
Right.
And
Right.
and so all of a sudden, even in this moment, even though like in the moment, I was like, I don't feel like I deserve this, but the Lord, time doesn't exist to him.
Right.
He saw that what I sowed 30 years ago, I'm just reaping the harvest.
Yeah.
And
Oh
so,
yeah.
so it's how you take the hit and just t- deal with it, walk through it and forgive quickly and bless those who persecute you and realize do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Absolutely.
yeah. But
That's good, man.
I know you. So so you've been in ministry. Now I don't want to sound religious cliche here, because we're all in the ministry. We're all full time.
Yeah.
How long have you been actually in teaching in church or traveling? How many years has this been?
Let's see. I think it's like 30 years.
Yeah, long
Yeah,
time.
something like that. Yeah. Maybe a little over.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
now, Brad,
Yeah.
were you raised in church? Because I've heard a little
I
bit of.
was honestly, I kind of wasn't. I was raised up during the Jesus movement,
Mhm.
and that's when there were just house churches everywhere,
Yeah.
and there was kind of a halfway of an exodus out of the normal church building life to uh, meeting in homes and so forth. Because back when I grew up, it was strange. You could breathe and people would come to the Lord. I mean, people were coming to the Lord without a minister. That was the most magnificent thing to watch, as a kid. And then people knocking on our doors, not wondering, why they're there, and it's because the Lord led them there. And then we picked up hippies, back then, and man, my watched my dad talk to them, for hours about Jesus, and then they end up getting saved. And long story short, we ended up having a whole community of a bunch of hippie Christians.
Yeah.
That's just the way it was, and then we would eat together. I mean, we always had somebody in our house that we didn't know, that our parents was loving on and helping, but I don't disdain those days. Some of those days were really hard, but I look back and I really thank God that I grew up during that time because we got to see some things that probably a lot of people will never see in their life.
Right.
We weren't the richest people in the world, and we got to see God provide for us in supernatural ways, and even provide food for the people that we had over and things, and our all of our community. Everybody was not making money, but we were all happy because we had the Lord, and believe it or not, we had community. Now that doesn't mean that it went perfect,
Right.
because if you're going to have real community, you are not going to have perfection. I can tell you that.
Amen.
You're everybody thinks, oh, I'm just see me, pastoring a community of Christ. Well, that sounds good. That means you're actually wanting to pasture sheep. So, sheep are going to do what they want to do. Sheep are going to want to stay where they want to stay. I mean, there's a lot involved in that, but I can look back now and I thank God that I was raised that way.
Yeah.
I think some of the way that I was raised has helped me where I'm at now, because some of the, there are some people out here that are very hungry for the Lord, and they're really willing to move where you are. That sounds cool, but it's really not.
It's not.
You're thinking what the guy is thinking or the leader's thinking is, man, that's a lot of responsibility,
Yeah.
And you may say, well, the responsibility is not on me. Well, actually, it is on you, because the responsibility is not them. Your responsibility is more of God. You've got to seek God not only for yourself, but you've got to seek God for these people as well, because those sheep are coming to be fed by the Lord, not you,
Right.
And believe it or not, being a priest is actually a job. It's not just a calling to be cool at. You have to die, following Jesus, and it's a lot of responsibility. But I wouldn't change it for the world. There's times where I wish I did, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Well, when we were in North Carolina, we had a bunch of people move to be in North Carolina with us. Then we moved to West Virginia. We had it was like 40 people moved with us. And now when people say, I'm thinking about coming to West Virginia, I'm like, you better know. You better,
Yeah, you better.
you better know, because it's,
It has nothing to do with West Virginia except hike and hang out the mountains, and you better be seeking the Lord.
that's right. Absolutely. You better be seeking the Lord. So Brad, when you grew up in the house movement, was this in Arkansas or Louisiana?
It started in Arkansas. Yeah, that's where I was born, and I was raised there till about the sixth grade,
Okay.
and then we moved to Ruston, and then there was house churches also in Ruston, Louisiana. So they raised the rest of my life. My rest of my life was raised in Ruston, Louisiana, which is about an hour east of here, of Shreveport.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you grew up Arkansas, but it's actually fairly close to Louisiana anyway.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half north of here, a very small town called Louisville, Arkansas.
Yeah.
It was thriving back then in the 70s, but and then honestly, when we left, the whole town ended up being a ghost town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty strange, pretty strange. Everything kind of went downhill after that, and you can literally go there, and it looks like a studio set for a zombie movie.
Really? It sounds like
I'm not just.
Mount Hope.
Yeah, I'm dead serious. That's what it's literally like that. All the shops had the beautiful glass shops and stuff. Yeah, kind of like Mount Hope. It's just there's nothing there anymore. Literally nothing. There's one place that stays open. It's called Burge's, and it's a drive-in where you can order hamburgers and shakes. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think it's kind of amazing. So you grew up there, and you have a big family, or how many? Because you got what, two brothers,
Yeah.
sister?
Yeah, I've got older brother, and two older sisters. My older sister lives here in Shreveport, and then my middle sister's the middle sister is in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, so you're the baby.
I'm the baby.
I'm the baby in my family.
Yeah.
And my sisters always said that I was the favorite.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You always get that. You always get that.
Yeah.
This part of it.
And then the thing is, then you move forward in life, and then the Lord blesses you in business and in athletics, and then you get that crazy call into doing what you're doing now, and you still have people saying, looking at you, saying, "Oh, you're just you're the favorite," all this stuff. But out of curiosity, man, because I wanted to ask you some questions, because again, we walked with you for a long time, and when I first met you, it was in September 2014
Right.
at a Super 8 motel.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of wild, first and foremost, because preaching there.
Yeah, man, Stephen, that I look back at that trip. We went there because God wanted to find y'all.
That's it. That's it.
That is it. That is it. This beat up family that was sitting in the back. Man, y'all look like y'all been beat to hell.
We were. So I mean, you know this, but a lot of people don't know this. So we were pastoring in Canada, and going through a lot of like spiritual church hurt and all that. I'm not going to focus on that, but I actually, just about a month before that, I had an accident on the lake. I was they were towing me on the raft, like, and they had me going like 45 miles an hour. The guy just literally had me flung me off. And the thing is, I hit the river or the lake on my right side at 40 miles an hour, had an instantaneous concussion, and made me suffer dizziness. And I suffer it to this day, man.
You're kidding.
I'm serious. Like, if I lay down on my right side, the room starts swimming. And I've gone to specialists. I've done all these things. I mean, I had you pray for me that night. And what now? I have to learn how to deal with it, It's
Well, I
it's
didn't know you still dealt with that.
Oh yeah. I mean, sometimes it's not as bad. When my nose, I deal with stopped up nose all the time, just kind of like you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Allergies and stuff. But I think because I had my nose broke, I probably just need to go in there and get it rotor-rooted, you know.
yeah.
But anyways, no. If I lay on my right side, the room starts going, well, it just starts spinning. But anyways, that I was in the midst of that when we came up to see you, and
Wow.
so I was physically dealing with that. We were dealing with all kinds of mental pressure, and then we heard what you preached, and even in the book that I wrote that you did the forward to, that crazy experience. I never heard the word like that, right? So fast forward, we meet you at a Super 8 motel, and then I even have the record of me reaching out to you. I actually have on my social media. I've gone back in the history, and I've seen my first emails to you. You know,
You're kidding me.
yeah, and
Wow.
yeah. So I reached out to you, and the thing is, when you know me, I'm not one of these guys that I don't like to take people's time. I hate it. People try to take advantage of my time all the time. I'm not that guy. And so I was very sparingly how I reached out to you. And I was always shocked how even when I did, you would reach back, because you didn't know me. You didn't know my wife.
Yeah.
But over the course of time, we built a friendship, and it's had different layers. But I ain't gonna lie, man. I was apprehensive to really connect with you, because I just didn't trust people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, I get it.
yeah. And do you think that most ministers are still like that?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Through, as well as I do. We minister to a lot of ministers and leaders, and that's one of the main things that, and I hate to use the word war with, but that we hit up against is basically, even if the Lord speaks to us, it's hard for them to trust us. And this from me. That's why a lot of times I don't speak a lot. I will listen a lot, because I know I've learned that, because the way the Lord's treated me, He's built trust with me, with me. uh, because he knows us, he knows me. And I was in the same position a long time ago. And when I found out through, that's a whole different story, but through encounters with the Lord and the way I found out that he was building a resume of trust with me so that I could trust his voice and trust his word. I started realizing, my God, God is not like this Lord or King that I've been thinking about. Is he a Lord and King? Yes, but he's a friend, and I didn't know that part of the Lord. And now, since I've known that, I have put that in, God has put that in me to where I walk with people, not trying to change them, but to more listen before I speak. And I've found me listening more, and I'm not talking about listening so I can get a point across, but listening because I really love them. I don't realize that is changing them and allowing them to have trust in the vessel, which would be me, and Christ in me to speak to them. But in this world, that takes too long.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And and I can admit sometimes as a leader, I just want this sucker to change, you know. But the Lord's not saying anything, even though I know what needs to change in him. The Lord's making me endure all of the flaws and all the stuff he's going through because it's going to build trust between us and love between us to where when I do speak, that person will actually listen and really trust it.
Mhm.
But there, you don't get that too much anymore. We kind of want it McDonald's style, just drive through. And even relationships are that way now. You do me right and I'll do you right. And then we won't go any further. Just keep doing me right, and you keep doing me right. But you've got to kind of get down and dirty. If you're gonna find a treasure in a field, you're gonna have to buy the whole field, man. And man, and it doesn't say he changed the field, right? He focused more on the treasure. And so with us, I've even though I will buy into the whole person, I'm not going to dig and try to clean them up. I'm seeing a treasure in them. So I would rather just put all my eggs into that person, buy into the person, and love their flesh and love their blood.
Right. There you
You
go.
know, and a lot of us love to drink the blood or the life that person can give. But man, when the flesh pops out, we're out of here.
Mhm.
But you don't realize if you can get past your offenses and really love them as a whole person, loving every part of them, that's the very thing that changes them.
Yeah.
Because that person knows that you know that they have this terrible flaw, but you're choosing to stay in it anyway and walk with them. That in itself, I don't know about you, but that breaks me with the Lord. I've seen me be a really bad person and he still loves me. Oh my God. That it breaks me
Yeah.
because he doesn't change the way that he thinks about me, even while I'm being a terrible person inside my own heart. And that makes me want to change. And I'm not getting on a bandwagon, but we've kind of lost that art of God in us.
I agree.
You know, it's the love that we have is, and it sounds critical, but it's more selfish because it's the stuff that we've walked through and the times that we've walked through. And I know you know this now. I'm not with you because I want to be somebody and have somebody under me or any of that. It's because I love the relationship. I love you and Marcy. That's what it's supposed to be about. It's never supposed to be about some ministry. It's supposed to be about a relationship that you walk with people and you have life not only with each other, but you share life with God with each other. And that takes time.
Yeah. It
And,
takes
and
it
it,
takes a lot of time for sure.
oh yeah. I mean, even, and I say this, and maybe somebody will learn from this, but even like that time, we laugh about it, but even that time when I knew I needed to make you sit down in front of me that day at that table before we had that meeting. And I wasn't doing it because I wanted to make things right. I wanted the relationship back. That's what I'm fighting about. That's what I'm fighting for. I'm fighting for the love that is supposed to be there. And if you can fight for that without getting critical toward each other or wanting to just jump up, and run away,
Right.
and you fight for the relationship instead of fight for your right, oh,
Oh,
then God can move.
yeah.
God can move in that relationship. And I didn't, and I'm using us as an example. The reason I didn't want to walk away from something like that is because here's the genuine thing: is because I love you too much. Now that may sound weak to some people, but I'll be as bold. That's the power of God. That's the real power.
That's right.
If you really believe in the power of God, then you got to lay down your life for your brothers.
Come on.
I mean, that is the true power of the Lord. But that's the power we skip.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? That's the power. And there's folks out there that still are, that don't like me. But you know what? I'm still. If they call me today and they need help, I'm going to help them. It's just, and the reason so, I'll say this boldly, that's in our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
If you really say you're a Christian, or you really say that you have a new spirit in Christ, then that nature is to reach out to your enemies.
Right.
Because it reached out to me.
Right.
Right.
Well, we're supposed to know if our enemy's hungry.
Exactly. So that takes a lot of closeness.
Well, I could tell you even okay, so
Hey, Bubba.
everybody, we're all called to hear the voice of the Lord. But you and I both know that there's different people that it's almost they have more of an experience with the prophetic. Okay. So the more prophetic you are, you can see the good, bad, and the ugly. And so have you ever, when you've met somebody, you can see their treasure, but you also see the field.
Every sinking time.
Right. But in the more carnal we are, what would happen is, like for me, I could tell you, I would, because I could see people, and I would see stuff on them, and because it's easy to spot junk. It's not hard.
No, it's hard to spot God.
Bingo. It's so easy, because when I see people spotting spirits on people, I automatically know you ain't even know. I mean,
Right.
everybody wants to spot a demon. Trust me. Everybody's got one once you look in the mirror. Okay,
Right.
you got your own carnality talking to you. Right?
Right.
And so when you see that, my battle that I've had to, I mean, I've gotten better at it since I've been walking with you, is the ability to long suffer in that relationship. And I knew they would hurt me. I knew they were going to wound me, and yet I still had to walk with them.
Yeah.
And then when you're getting wounded, and then when you're getting hurt, your flesh wants to cut and run. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to quit and go back into business, man.
Oh yeah.
Have you dealt with that temptation a lot, just to quit, walk away from living by?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah. It was when we lived in Myrtle Beach. This was about 8 years ago. I've been in Myrtle Beach, I think 2 years. And there was so much, how could I say, I hate to blame everything on the enemy, because it's really flesh stuff. There were people that were really coming against us, talking about us, and it was just constant.
Yeah.
And then but at the same time, I was, the Lord was showing up a lot with some of the things that we were doing. Now this may sound really crazy, but I was tired. and this is very carnal, but because you had me on here, but I don't know about you, but I was tired of seeing glory and then having hell. That in itself, like, wears you out.
Yes.
And if you listen to your flesh will say, I've had enough of this. But you don't understand. We don't understand that that is the sword of the Lord. He has to allow that to happen in your life so it can keep you in that place of totally dependent on the Spirit. Now, when you know that revelation and you're going through it, then even more it makes you want to quit. And I'll never forget. And I had, without Susan knowing, I had gotten in my office and started making a business plan, and it was a good one. It was a good one, and we went out to eat at this favorite restaurant called Frank's down in Pawleys Island, and we're sitting there, and I look at her, and I'm not upset. I'm actually kind of inspired, and I said, "Hey, I really think it's time for me to just lay all this down." And I wasn't in attitude. I really did. I said, I think it's time for me to lay this down. And I've really got a business plan. I think it's time for me to go. I want to go back into business and start a business. And I looked at her, and I think it's because I wasn't upset. I was actually sane and really was inspired with what I had. She said, I have never seen you like this. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, this is not the Lord. And I was actually wanting it to happen. She goes, you can't do that. She goes, you were called by God. You can't do the things of the. Now, I'm not saying that doing a business is not the Lord, because there are many guys that are called into that. But my calling was getting out of that business world and into what God what God wanted to do. And I said, "What do you mean I can't do this?" Well, I mean, it's when you want to make more money, or be able to do things that we've always wanted to do. She goes, Brad, that is not the Lord. And it was like she threw a turd in my punch bowl, and I was like, crap. And it got me back centered, like, you're right. I've just got to stay in the boat with the Lord and just continue to die, to my will. That is actually, it can create some good stuff,
Right.
create some good business stuff. Well, along with your prophetic gifting, man, you can really flourish. And I had to lay it down. And ever since then, and I'll never forget that day, but ever since then, have I had times where I just get tired of it? Yeah, yeah, I do. But I just know deep down inside, I got to keep allowing God to drag me around wherever He wants to go.
Right.
You
Wow.
know, because you know as well as I do, but you do what we've been doing for so long. With me, I get tired of traveling, and I don't mind being there and helping the people, but and doing what God tells me to do.
Yeah.
But the traveling is it. I guess that's my thorn in my flesh. I just don't want to get on another plane or get in another rental car and travel. But everybody has its thorn.
Well, you know how it is to travel from West Virginia, don't you?
Oh my Lord.
Well, I got to live this, bro.
There's no good way to get where you are.
Right. It was so easy living by Charlotte.
Oh, it's easy. I can just fly into Charlotte, drive up in 35 minutes, and you're good.
It's like, all right, we're going to make things hard, make it
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah.
So, so I'm going to give you ask a different perspective from you. So, it's one thing for you to, when you handle people talking about you, all the people nitpicking you, but how have you handled it when they nitpick and they target those closest to you. That's been more of a battle for me because I take the hit a lot.
Yeah.
But if they start talking about my wife or they start talking about, I'll give you an example. About 3 years ago, this guy, he starts talking bad about you in front of me. Now, this is the thing I really wish more Christians could understand. He's spewing his opinion, but what he's actually doing is cursing your integrity.
Sure.
Now, so what I did in that moment, I looked at him, I said, you need to be quiet now. I'm not going to listen to another word you say. We're done. Now, some people would say, well, Scott, you shouldn't have shut him down. You should have let him share his thoughts. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that because have you found when somebody talks about somebody that you know, if you start lending an ear to that, I think I don't know, am I wrong for doing that?
No, because it's not the knowledge that they're spewing; it's the spirit that they're spewing.
Right.
But just like it goes back to the garden, knowledge was given to Eve, and it made her curious. She didn't judge it by the spirit. She allowed it to massage her curiosity, which caused her to focus on herself, and she got into his opinion. And then she looked at what was offered, and what she knew was evil is now good. And so that's the same thing. A lot of people will come out with a lot of knowledge about a person, and it may even be true. But if it's in the wrong spirit, see, we're judging things based on knowledge instead of by the spirit. The Bible says, "Judge by the spirit," and so you caught the spirit of that. So you know that spirit can't come into God's temple. So you have to shut that person down or say, "Hey, why don't you call him and ask him about that? Because I don't know anything about that." So you need to go. If you're going to talk to me, go to the person you're talking about.
I think I think I might have been a little bit more aggressive.
I'm sure you will. I mean, one of the things that I do, and I really try to help our people, but people love, I'm not saying this as an accusation because I know this about myself. We love evil stuff about people.
Yes.
We like to hear the next thing, right? And we don't realize that just takes us back to the garden. We love knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't realize that knowledge is imparting a spirit that will get you really in trouble, because the only true knowledge is Jesus. I mean, there's only one truth, and that's Jesus. That spirit of truth even the spirit of truth will give you knowledge, but it will always lead you to Jesus. It will never accuse somebody or bring somebody's stuff up, right? It will always lead you to the Lord. So the thing that I try to tell people is say, hey, if there's, I call it chatter. If you start hearing chatter about a certain person, if somebody comes to you, just turn to them and say, hey, let's go talk to them. Let's go talk to them about this, because if it's bothering you, I'm really being serious here. If it's really bothering you, go to that person and really try to get the true truth, not because you want to expose the person, but you want to save a relationship that you may need in the future, or you want to save that person's life, or you even want to save your own life of not taking the bait of something very evil about the person. So I'd rather go to the person and find out the real truth. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And most of us don't. Most of us will either say some type of, how can I say, I've seen it on Facebook, that people will say a condescending thing, and it's really about a person that they've, have had problems with. They may not name the person, but they're saying something spiritual,
Yes. Yes.
And that's worse witchcraft than you might as well just talk about the person.
Totally.
So it's better, because you don't realize doing that type of stuff is actually separating you from Christ within inside yourself. So you're not, it's not about that person. It's about which bait are you taking? Are you taking the bait of your own flesh, which will lead you to death? Or are you going to take the bait of God, which will lead you to the truth? And if it really leads you to the truth, then you're going to call up that person that you may have a problem with and say, "Hey, we need to meet. I've got a real problem here, and I'm not coming to you about the problem because it's your fault. I want to learn, and I want to know if this is really true."
Yeah. See, nobody does that.
Yeah,
They don't.
yeah,
Well, just like you said about social media, words are seeds that carry spirit.
you're
So
right.
even words you type carry a spirit. So
Sure.
my thing is this: even if somebody's writing something, but the spirit behind what they're writing is full of vitriol and accusation and hate, and they're wanting to tear that person down, if a person even reads it, they're partnering with it. And that's the thing. I can't. This is one of my pet peeves. I don't understand why so many Christians will literally sit down and watch a 3 to 5 hour expose video on
Yeah.
exposing people's stuff, and yet they don't have enough time to spend quality time with the Lord personally. That trips me out. And that's the thing. Everybody wants to be a leader until you actually have to go through the process of. I look at it this way, Brad. The higher up you climb on a tree, the more people are going to stare at your backside, and they're going
Yeah.
to criticize how you do it.
Yeah,
And
I mean, concerning a lot of the, the accusations and the stuff that's coming out today, first of all, it saddens me because if you really got to know the person that you're accusing, you may change your story,
right,
even if it's true.
right,
I mean, I've been in the ditch before, and people just pound you, and the stuff they say about you is true, but they don't realize that's a person.
mhm,
They may have done they may have done something wrong, but the murdering spirit that you're in is not helping that person, you know. And I've learned this just by trying to help fallen leaders. It's not going to help me or help them uh, to get up out of their hole for me to condemn them. you
mhm,
know God will always he may see things, he may point things out in you, but he always has a redemptive answer that brings you from the pit to the penthouse.
that's right,
And if we really have the Spirit of God, and if we say that we're walking in the Spirit, then we should have that type of nature.
right.
I mean, even Paul says, if anyone, he says, is caught. I
Caught.
used to say, and this was my thing. I used to say this. Well, they got caught and they'll never change.
Right.
That gave me a license to be able to actually accuse them.
Mhm.
But if he says if they're caught, restore them. He that is mature,
Yes.
restore them with a spirit of gentleness. And I'm like, gosh, dog. I mean, but Paul's not just telling us how to restore somebody, he's looking at how Jesus restored him.
Right.
If there was anybody that was wrong, that should have been on YouTube and Facebook, should have been Paul. Right? And there was a guy named Jesus that came to him, told him, "Why are you kicking me in the goys?" In other words, was firm with him, but then took him to the wilderness and restored him.
Mhm.
Think about that. Restored him, and he came back a lover of the very people that he was killing.
Wow.
I mean, that shows us that some leaders or some people that fall could be someone, a leader to the church that could change the church if they could be restored right.
Right.
And God saw a pearl in Paul bought the whole field
Yeah.
and brought the treasure out of Paul.
Right.
And that's the Spirit of God. That's the kind of spirit that the whole world should be walking in, with each other.
Right.
And I'd like to address, even kind of what you said about, some of these YouTube things that are going out. And, you want to kind of get upset about it. And I can understand that. Everybody wants to get upset about it, whether you're on the left side or the right side. It's still the same spirit, because you can be on the right side and think that you're right. I can't believe they're doing this, but you're still in the same spirit that they are. And I asked the Lord a little bit with all this, and it's not just about the church folks. I mean, we got it going on. The world's doing it to each other, right? And I asked the Lord, and I said, well, why is this happening? He said, because the church is leading this. You guys are doing this. You may not be doing it on YouTube or Facebook, but you're still doing it in your lives. So you're actually causing this to happen.
Wow.
So all of what's going on, which is the world, it's the spirit of the world, it's reflecting the nature that we are walking in. And we're building that.
Right.
And I will tell you what, I was convicted, man. I was convicted. I thought, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but you're right. I'm sitting here, accusing whoever's doing it or how they're doing it, and I can come up with all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized I was in the same spirit.
Gosh, Lord have mercy.
And he said, Brad, you've done it just as bad. You may not have been talking like they do, but at least they're manifesting it, but you're hiding it. But he said, but you're YouTube to me. You're showing it to me wide open. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you are so right. I am totally sorry. And then when he dealt with me, just me personally, on that as a leader, man, it made me look at that completely different, to really love those, whatever's going on. Now don't condone it, but you still love them in a total different attitude, because now you understand why it's going on.
Absolutely.
You
What's that,
know,
what's that scripture in Proverbs that says, he who loves grace or speaks with great grace, the king will be his friend?
that's right.
And
That's exactly right.
so even me and Marcy, as we were driving back from the airport from Charlotte to West Virginia, I looked at her. I said, I used to be a licensed Foursquare pastor, started by Amy Simple McPherson. Can you imagine if they had social media back in that lady's day? How many? I mean, my God, they would have tried, because like she had some scandals, right?
Oh my gosh.
Would not exist today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they would
Yeah.
have shut it down.
Well, without us knowing, and if you can see this, even the people out there that are watching, we don't realize, because we're so flooded by information, it's coming from man. Okay. Without us realizing it, because we've been so focused on everything that's going on, we're being flooded with all about everybody's opinion. We don't realize we're taking the bait to thinking that man is God. And that's that's that satanic thing. What's happening right now is man is trying his best to be God. Right now, that spirit of man, fallen man nature, is slowly grooming us to think that the voice of all these people, it's the truth. If everybody's saying it, it's the truth.
Wow.
How'd you like to be Noah? I just thought about that. He didn't go with everybody's truth. Everybody was doing what was right in their own mind. Everybody, and even the Lord says everybody was doing what was in their imagination, and they were doing it. Right? That's what's happening today. So can you imagine not going with the flow of even what the social church and everything is doing, and you start building something completely different than what God is saying or what everybody's doing. Can you imagine the mockery that man took?
Wow.
I mean, it looked like today. I mean, whether we see it or not, and if you read Second Timothy 3, we're in that same day as Noah. And now everybody focuses on, oh man, it's going to be Nephilims and then the aliens and all that. But you don't realize if Jesus says it's going to be in the days of Noah, you better start looking who Jesus is during the time of Noah.
Wow.
So
Absolutely.
Noah was like a representation, a slight shadow of the nature of the Lord. And one of the things that I've gotten is that dude had to be so single focused on what God was saying in order just to survive to build that boat.
Took like 400 years, didn't it? 400 years to
Yeah,
build.
yeah. I mean, can you imagine how the temptations that came to him
I'd have
to
quit.
stop?
I would like, I'm done with this. Can't handle this no more.
Exactly. But
Jeez.
see, he didn't realize that he built something in him that caused him to arise above the flood of demonic activity. See, that was the whole thing. What he built was an ark, but what he built was being built first in him. One singular door, one singular window, one Jesus, one Holy Ghost. That's it. He just stayed focused on what God told him to do, and he stayed there, and didn't do what the world was saying to do. And right now, man, we're being flooded with voices.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but even you can even see the church in this spirit, because you see one guy doing something that mimics what the world's doing, but it's God, but then, a church catches on what they're doing. So they do it. I mean, I don't know if you know that you realize this, but, a lot of people build the same stages, the same purple lights, it's still trying to, how can I say, put an image of God out there,
Yeah.
when the image of God should be built inside of us to where you don't need lights. You just walk with him and you become the light.
Wow.
You be the stage. In other words, you be the image and the nature of the Lord. And you don't need to mimic or make everything look so great, because you're actually living it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
you really hit that when you were saying, even churches, they're all copying each other. They're copying how to decorate. Imagine this though, if you and
I'm
I,
not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying we don't realize we're in that
yeah,
stream, and somewhere we gotta, even though God is still coming in these things, but God's coming to get us out.
right. Imagine if I naturally buck things. Okay, I think you do too. We naturally, I don't know, but that's maybe my carnal side. I don't know, but can you imagine if I started dressing like a lot of these famous preachers now? I'd wear the skinny jeans and the Air Jordan shoes and the little jacket with the gold chain. Oh my gosh, I would want to slap myself.
And the most merciful part about that is God still comes.
He still comes.
He still comes. And then when he comes, then he convicts me, you know. I need to shut my mouth, I mean, it's like, here's the whole deal. We just got to shut up and follow the Lord.
That's it. That's it. The Lord told me, he says, Scott, I'll allow your preference, but I won't allow your prejudice.
Exactly. But man, you would like to say something because we just think we're right, but we forget that God is using that to get to us.
Oh my gosh, bro! I can't remember how many times that I used that, just the way I was raised. with a bunch of coal miners as mentors. So I would look at these dudes and say, cut that man bun off, man. What are you trying to look at? I mean, so I would, and so what the Lord had to, he convicted me is like, that's my preference. My preference is to dress like,
Oh, help us, Jesus.
Yeah, he's that good, man. But so I know, like, again, I want to ask you this question. I don't want to take a lot of your time today, but
No, you're
obviously
okay.
you're seeing what's going on in the church. And I know even your spiritual father, Bob Jones, which a lot of people are accusing him of crap nowadays, which
And he's dead.
I know he's dead. I mean, my gosh, man. That's what gets me. The guy is gone.
Right.
But you knew him, you walked with him, and when you start hearing that stuff, like, I didn't know him personally. The only time I met Bob Jones is in my dreams. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it makes me want to fight. It literally makes me want to just
Yeah.
like come back at these people. Really, it's an attack on the Holy Spirit, honest to God. It's an attack on
Oh, yeah.
what the Lord's doing. But I two questions. So number one, when you see them attack him that way, what's been your process with the Lord, how you've navigated that? And two, he prophesied about a civil war coming in the church. All right. Is it here already?
Oh, we started it.
Okay. Please do tell.
We started it. We never thought that. I never thought it would be starting in the church, but I mean, if you look at the way it started back in the old days, the very people that crucified Christ was moral, good people thinking that they were following the Lord. And so if we start crucifying people the way that we're doing it now, we're just actually in that same spirit that was crucifying Christ. Because anybody that you crucify, you're crucifying him. Because he said, whatever you do to the least, whatever you've done to the least of these, you've done it to me.
Right.
So that doesn't mean that's not a theory or some metaphysical thing. That's literal to him, because those people that you are criticizing are literally in his image. So you're basically telling God, you didn't do your work enough. So we're going to actually expose this. We're going to do this. Now, do we sometimes go after people that are doing that type of stuff, like really doing harm to the church? Yes, but you do it out of relationship. You can't just barrel in, and unless now the guy's like abusing people, like, it's against the law. Then you use the law to actually put him in jail, but then, even then, who's going to go in and try to restore him? So there's a fierceness of God, yes, but there's still love in it, if that makes sense. So somewhere in there, we've got to catch how to actually walk on this earth, even while our brothers are crucifying others or even crucifying us. We've got to realize that this is nothing new of what's going on. If they did it with Jesus, they're going to do it with other people. Now, I'm talking about, you got to realize some of them actually thought that the Lord was actually in sin and he was doing wrong. And so in their mind, they really thought that he was bad.
Right.
And there was a whole other side that thought there's no way that they're not as bad. He's not as bad as they think he is, And so you still have this, ups and down, ups and down. Peter cutting off an ear, but that was the trick of the enemy, is to get the righteous in the same spirit as the accuser of the brethren, and we think that we're doing it right.
Oh, wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So somewhere in there, someone's got to not love their life so much that they give their life not only to, and I hate to use this because it's almost like, who's bad and who's not, but it's not. But they got to give their life not only to the righteous, and loved them, but also loved them just as they loved the righteous, that they loved the other side as well. Now, the problem there is you're going to get killed by the right side and the left side.
Yep.
And you got to take God's side. That's what Joshua did. Man, Joshua got delivered that day. He asked the Lord, he asked the angel of the Lord, whose side are you on? And boy, I'm going to tell you what,
Come on.
he got delivered.
Yeah.
He said, I'm on nobody's side. I'm on the side of the Lord.
Wow.
And he not only felt convicted about his own prejudice, but he realized God loved both sides, but he was having to do something about it. He was having to put order in it. And it's not like he loved it. It was love being poured out in a painful way,
Yeah.
you know? And that's the way that we have to live during this time. Are we coming into that place to where there's a religious brother against brother? Yes. But where's the brother that's going to lay down his life for the one that's killing one and the one that's think he's righteous and doing the right thing and killing that guy?
Right.
Who's going to lay down their life for both sides
Wow.
and try to bring us back to and away from who's right and who's wrong, and put our focus back on the Lord and get away from good and evil?
Wow. That's so good, man.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Well, that's the remnant that the Lord is really there as a remnant of who's walking the line. Think about this, Brad. It's like every modern revival we've had. You've had Lakeland, you've had Brownsville, you've had Azusa Street, you've had the Toronto outpouring. Every single one of those revivals ended because of offense and flesh. And it disconnected relationships. And I was talking to the Lord about this because I read recently through the book of Acts, studying Paul's life. What's crazy, everywhere Paul went, this, two things happened: revival or riot. So
Right.
he couldn't get away from it. And what happened, he'd be gone, he'd go in one town, then leave, and he'd travel to another country. And the people that he just left will actually chase him to the other country to bring accusation. And I'm like, today they don't do that. They just get on social media and want to accuse it.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to travel.
I know, but it's that same spirit. And so when I was,
Okay, Bubba.
contemplating this, I had this epiphany. What if I think sometimes us in the church, we worship our brand more than the Lord. And what I mean by that, you got 425, you got Living Vine, you got churches
Oh,
have
the culture. The culture you have. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I got to thinking of it. It's like, you know what? There's only one real church. It's the Church of Jesus Christ. Okay. But yet we have the many streams, but we actually put names to it to show our vision. Like your vision is Living Vine. So,
Right.
and 425 is on 1 Corinthians 4:20. But think about this, man. You're a golf fan. What's your football team? You like the Saints or the LSU or something like that? I'm to give an example. Like, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, right? Used to be a Panther fan when I worked for him, but I grew up a Steelers fan. Now, what's crazy, I'm actually a fan of the uniform and the name. So you get a star player, and I'm going to root for him because he wears the colors, he has the name. But the
Looks cool.
moment he gets traded to another team, I'm going to be cheering against him.
Right.
So this is why, like, it's so crazy. Ministries won't work together because we have our brand. And I can't tell you how many people didn't want to connect with us because, well, I got to support our ministry and our brand. And I'm like, wait a second, we're on the same daggone team. It's the same mission. But our name is actually, the reason we have a name is it's because it's not in word but in power. This is our demonstration. But isn't it kind of crazy how we worship brands?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just flesh.
Oh
It's
my,
just it's just flesh. I mean, going back to the original thing of what you just said about the movements of God, and then all the jockeying for positions and the jealousies, and then the flesh gets involved, and then it ends. And it's funny you say that because I shared this while I was gone this past weekend. They How can I say this without talking long? Most of the people that followed Jesus, they loved his movements.
mm,
But when it came time to loving him and not having to have a movement, that's when they split off. That's when he said, "Eat my flesh and drink my blood." In other words, will you love me just for me without me moving?
come on.
And so when we've had these what we call revivals, when they hit, that was one of Jesus's movements. But we fall in love with the movement when we realize the movement was to get us to fall in love with Jesus in the movement and just start following the Lord, because the goodness of God came so that we could repent back to being mature, to just following Jesus in our everyday life. And so we get hungry for movement and power, but we don't want to eat Jesus. And so when you start falling in love with the movement or the culture, what happens without you realizing, you get in the flesh. And when you get in the flesh and you think it's God, then it's not. That's when you start getting competitive. Then you start comparing each other. Then you start jealousy starts coming, and all this stuff come. It's only because we fell in love with the atmosphere and what he was doing, instead of seeing that to get us mature to fall in love with Jesus and follow Jesus.
That's good.
And
Wow.
so you'll see the jealousy and all that stuff that's come from that. It's not because, and is it bad? Yes, but it came from not realizing, but they got in the flesh when they started loving the movement instead of loving Jesus.
Wow.
You know, I asked some folks this weekend, would you love Jesus if he never moved?
Come on.
Would you? Would you love Jesus if he never talked to you again?
Wow.
I mean, really think about that. I mean, that really hits the core of, okay, what are we really worshiping? Are we really worshiping God, or are we worshiping really ourselves? Because we're wanting God to do something for me so I could feel better.
Wow.
But what if you don't ever feel good? Would you still love him anyway? You know? And man, that kind of that's that's a big plumb line. I mean, Jesus really is the plumb line. Are you going to follow him if he doesn't do any more healings in your life? If he doesn't do any more signs and wonders, or are you really going to follow him? And that's who he's looking for. He's looking for some real friends that will follow him all the way to their death, to where they don't love their lives, and that means they don't love that spirit that wants God to please them.
Wow.
They love loving him. That's where they get their life from. They give him life, and that's a happy, peaceful person.
My God. You know, when we first moved here, and we were in Beckley meeting, the Lord pulled away me operating in the spiritual gifts, and He says, "I want you to teach, I want you to train, and raise them up." And what happened? I would speak these challenging words, and I'd be teaching, but I wouldn't be doing personal prophecy. I wouldn't. I mean, I wasn't doing what I normally used to when I used to visit.
Sure.
And we had a lot of people leave because they said, "Oh, Scott's not flowing in power like he used to." And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh!" And then here I am now. I'm at this place now. Even when I travel on the road, I'm not even operating prophetically the way I used to.
It's
And
not because of you. That's the way. That's where Jesus is right now.
right. And the thing is, when I'm not doing it, and then people are like, well, why aren't you doing this no more? I'm like, because the Lord is not in that.
Right. It's just not right now.
Yeah. And,
I
and
mean, he told the ones that were seeking a sign that there would be no sign to them except the sign of Jonah.
wow.
In other words, if you there will be a time where a generation's always wanting a sign, but that will end.
Yeah.
He will stop giving all of that stuff. And the sign of Jonah is not looking back in Jonah's days, which yes, you can, but it means you've got to focus on one person.
Mhm.
And that's the Lord. Because see, Jonah wanted everything but the Lord.
Right.
He
That's
ran from him.
yeah.
He wanted his. It was a prophet that got to the point to where he wanted his own pleasure,
Mhm. Mhm.
and God turned him back to get focused back on God by allowing something very hard to happen to him. That's coming.
Yeah.
That's coming. We've got yes, are we a prophetic nation? Absolutely. But we're also in the times of Jonah where something has to happen to get us back on singular focus and Jesus be our life, where we minister to the Lord instead of telling the Lord to minister to us.
Oh my gosh. But it's like when you look at the state of the union of the church in America, it's not good, man. It's not good right now at all. You know.
No, but it is, and I can say yes, you're right. It's not if you look at it through that lens, but it's working for God, for God's good, not ours. And so
Oh,
you better get on what God's thinking about it instead of the way we're seeing it. Because I'm telling you, I saw it the other day. He was so giddy. It's working for his good, and he's actually happy about it. And I'm like, and I'm not going to say what I said, but I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
wow.
And when he showed me that it's working for his good, it kind of made me excited, but it also offended my mind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're always wanting to change stuff. So yeah, I don't know about you, but man, I'm wanting to change some stuff. And man, if I'm wanting to change some stuff, that means I'm thinking from me.
Right. Well, I mean, every now and then I can totally relate to the Lord when He said, "How much longer do I have to deal with y'all?"
Right, exactly. Well, I'll tell him, please give me some more time.
Right? Oh my gosh. Well, I got one more question, and then we'll start whittling down. Um,
uh,
I want to ask you because I've been have so many people email me this question, and I try to give the explanation what the Lord views it. What? How can you explain? Because there's been abuse with this topic. What is the opinion of the Lord about spiritual covering? I think that can be abused, but also it's very necessary. So how can you how do you explain this to somebody that is it necessary to have someone or some people in authority over you?
well, if you first of all, if you are submitting to the Lord, then God's going to send someone physical to ordain what you're actually your obedience to the Spirit. In other words, whatever if you're really submitting to an authority, which is the Spirit of God, and you're really doing it, then someone is going to come in I call it a flesh suit that models that, and you'll know that is the guy you need to follow. That's the guy I need to submit to. And then the other dimension of that is you're going to want to submit to them because you recognize they have that same spirit that you being obedient with.
Right. Right.
It's like I asked, when I finally came to the revelation of my Father, which is Jesus, the Spirit, I mean, really understood it and knew that he was my dad. Then Bob came along.
Wow.
And then when Bob came along, I was like, oh my God, that's my dad.
Mhm.
That's my dad. And it's not because I wanted to spiritual covering.
Mhm.
It was recognition. I recognized it, and it didn't, it didn't matter. And I didn't care if he talked to me or not. I just knew that one. And when I recognized it, I started getting what he got. See,
Right.
and then and I didn't try to put myself in his life. God put me in his life, which is a whole different story. But God put me in his life, and then long story short, we became really good friends and really close. I mean, baptized my kids. I mean, it was that type, and it ended up being a relationship, not a lordship.
Mhm.
Now, could he be my Lord? Yes, there were times he would correct me sternly, but I knew it. I knew he was doing it because he loved me, not because, how can I say, he was just trying to fluff his feathers and control me.
Right.
And the reason I knew that he loved me is because I took the time to see how he loves me, and I also loved him and took the time to bless him and love him as well. So you build a resume of trust with each other, and of course you're going to trust your leader. Of course you're going to trust the guy that's what we would call being over you.
Right.
You know, I think it has. I think it happens through recognition first. It's kind of like Elijah and Elisha. You know, did Elijah pick him? Yeah, he brushed his mantle over him. In other words, that could be like, you know, someone walking in our church and they feel your mantle. In other words, they feel the Spirit of God that is on you and it touches them and they just know, they recognize it. They hear the call like Elijah told Elisha, you got to go. But and that's what we hear. You're like, that's the guy.
Mhm.
I've got to be with this guy.
Yeah.
And what Elisha, and I love this about Elisha, he knew I've got to burn up everything. In other words, I've got to burn up everything in me that would trip me up of not following him,
Wow.
or you're going to go back.
Yeah.
That's the way it is with Jesus. If you're carrying stuff that that you can do plan B with, and you say you're following God, but if it don't work out and you got plan B, you're really not following the Lord. I can
Right.
tell you that. So he burns it all up and follows him.
Mhm.
And Elisha never says that he's his dad.
Right. Never.
It all comes by the Spirit. It has to come by the Spirit. Because
Mhm.
I've lived in an era of the father era, and it got really weird. You got to have a father, and I'm your father. That was a little perverted because if you're having to tell people that you're their father, then you're in a spirit of control.
Right.
You're not really trusting God in you to take care of whatever problem that you're dealing with a son.
Right.
You don't have to wave that banner. But then Elijah, when it comes time for Elijah to go, he says to him, what did he say?
You see.
If
Yeah.
you see me, if
Yeah.
you see me, that's
Yeah.
when you get it. And man, there is so much in that.
Yeah.
That if you really start seeing that guy or that woman or whatever, whoever it is, if you really see him,
Mhm.
that's when you start getting it.
Right. Well,
You
it
know?
got kind of wild. Elijah was constantly trying to get rid of Elisha. Like he kept
Yeah.
going around in circles, going all up and down here, and he just kept following wherever he went.
Yeah, well, that really shows us. I mean, there's a lot in that. I won't, there's a lot of teaching in that concerning leadership, but some people, man, some leaders are going to offend you.
Hmm.
But
Well,
what did you see?
right.
What did you really recognize? Because sometimes that is a test
Yeah.
to see if we're going to stick in. Man, I'm telling you, I mean, I don't know how many times I was tested with Bob
Right.
because I saw some flesh sides,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and
You didn't get
I
on
was,
YouTube and expose them either.
oh Lord, no. I mean, I knew, man, this is a man of God,
Yeah.
and I'm going to follow him. Now I'm not talking about flaws like abusing children, things of that nature. I'm talking about like sometimes getting upset and mad, and sometimes saying something that was off the cuff that was fleshly, and sometimes it offended me, and I would want to go, "You're in the flesh," and the Lord goes, "Well, you're in the flesh," and so that type of stuff. So I never wanted to abandon because I knew that was the Father in a man suit, and we got to remember it's a man suit.
Right.
You're going to see some flaws sometimes,
Right.
but that is for our deliverance. And it's also, we don't realize that the leader has to deal after he manifests in front of the people that he's mentoring. He's going to be dealt with too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're really following the Lord as a real father and you manifest in front of your kids, I guarantee you, God's going to give you a pretty good spanking.
Yeah. Amen to
You
that.
know?
Well, I love what
Yeah.
you said. You don't pick your father. You don't.
No.
It has to be the Lord. Because I can't tell you how
Yes.
many people they want that relationship with me, but sometimes it's not the Lord. They're not.
Right.
You're not called to walk in that proximity. And,
Right. Right.
but everybody wants the covering because. And let's face it. We've 420. We've ordained people before.
Right.
And
Right.
I've ordained people I probably shouldn't have. But I've learned a lesson from this. But I can tell you, the moment, and you know this because you ordained us, the moment a father ordains a son or a daughter, they literally take an impartation of the good and the bad
Oh, totally.
from who they're walking with. So,
Well,
like,
think about it. You come into that family. I mean,
dude, as soon as you ordained us, man, all of a sudden I started going through hell. And I started. My back got hurt. I mean, everything that you were walking through, literally every single thing. And I'm like, this
yeah.
is crazy. But
Oh, yeah.
at the same token, I wouldn't trade anything for it because there was glory in it. It's hard to
Listen,
describe.
one of the first things that happened to me when I got really connected with Bob,
Mhm.
I got visited by the spirit of Pan, which is the spirit of Pan killed Bob.
Wow.
He literally walked into my, excuse the pun, audience, but I was on the toilet at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the spirit of Pan opened my front door of my cabin, and I could hear the hoof prints coming across the cabin, and he tapped on my door with his hoof, cluck, cluck, cluck,
Oh my gosh.
and this voice uh, said, "I'm going to kill you like I tried to kill Bob." And before you enter into your true ministry. And of course, I couldn't get off the toilet. And I said, "No, you're not." And he turned around and walked out.
Wow.
And then the thing about it, later on, he appeared to my dad, my real dad.
Wow.
Yes, my real dad. And my dad started having bad panic attacks.
Mm.
And he tried to kill my dad.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it literally. I'm not joking. And I saw him another time, physically again, and I didn't want to know no toilet. I mean, he came up to me another time threatening my life. And the second time when he came, because it kind of shook me a little bit when the first time, but the second time I'd already walked through some revelations with the Lord. And then when he came the second time, I looked at him and almost laughed. I go, "Man, you must really be intimidated if you're having to come here physically."
Wow.
He didn't like that at all. But yeah, you're right. You're right, man. I mean, if you really want to be in the family of God, you're gonna get what the family goes through.
Right. That's right.
It's just what it is, you know.
That's right. You deal
But,
with
but man, you know what? I wouldn't trade it for the world.
it. Right. That's right.
Because the good stuff outweighs all the crap.
Yeah. Amen to that. That- that's one thing I just appreciate, that because you got a crazy busy schedule. You're willing to come on here with me and do this. And I just want to encourage there's a lot of people out there because they're looking for their mentors, they're looking for their fathers. And the Lord, he'll honor your pursuit, but he'll put
Oh
you in
gosh, yeah.
You can't force relationship, and that's the one thing I think that many people need to understand. You cannot force a relationship. You just put yourself in proximity, build your relationship with the Lord, and the Lord does the connecting.
That's it.
So, all right, last thing. What kind of advice would you give to a leader or a potential leader of how they can grow in authority, or what can they do partnering with God to allow themselves to be promoted with the Lord? That's kind of not with
that's
the Spirit.
that's like you asking me about evangelism.
Well, but think about it, like, faithful if you're little, you're faithful at much, right?
Yeah,
People sent me questions in that.
it. Really is. It really is. Stay low. Don't try to don't feel the push of trying to climb the ladder. A lot of people say I'm getting close. I got to get closer to God when God's standing right there next to you. I've never figured that out, but they got to be listening to something else. But I would say stay teachable. I mean, stay and teachable doesn't mean listen. Yes. Do you listen? Teachable means you really obey. Obey in the little things. Don't go after the big stuff. And I do that in my life. And now I think the big stuff's the little stuff. It took a while because I was so programmed for big stuff, but it's the little things that our great leader looks for in a leader. Are you going to obey me when nobody's looking?
There you go.
That type of stuff. And I'm not tooting my horn, but I mean, I'll get up today. I'll do stuff that needs to be done around the house, or if I go to the church, I'm going to do stuff that I see needs to be done. I'm not going to wait around for my leaders or the volunteers to do it. Even though they can, I'm going to do it. There's been a space where Holly, our children's pastor, she needed someone to teach the kids. I just got out of the sanctuary and went and go taught the kids. I mean, you do it, you just do what's needed, and if you can help, and just do the little things that don't give you recognition. Because if you're doing things that give you recognition by man, you're not being glorified by God.
There you go.
But if you're doing things that are not glorified by man, I'm going to tell you what, God is watching.
Yes, he is.
And then he will glorify you in due season. I can tell you that. He will definitely glorify you in due season.
Well, this is why I love the people that moved with us to West Virginia. That a lot of them have been going through it, but man, I gotta give them kudos.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of West Virginia, September 4th and 5th, we have our 9th reunion, and you're going to be there. And
I'm going to be there.
So what's your thoughts about where we live in West Virginia? How do you like this place out here, man?
You know me as well as I mean, the stuff I've told you in the past, I really think that's going to be the West Virginia, not Virginia, but West Virginia. That area is going to be a place of safe refuge. Now, I'm not just saying safe refuge of things that are coming physically, but I think there is something deposited there in the spirit from long ago that God is digging up that's going to cause people to want to be there, because there's a spiritual refuge that has been there for ages. And it's going to be a hunger for the Lord, and everybody's going to want to come there because it's a place where God's going to be.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a safe place, a safe spiritual place first, for a lot of people to come and get healed, get their life right, and start walking in the hills of God, And then later on down the road, it's going to be a physical safe place for where our country's going. I mean, we're coming into if we're seeing the spiritual right now, we've got to have the physical. And that's kind of, I know it sounds sad, but you're seeing some stuff heated up against brother, but that's got to manifest physically too. We're already starting to see it in some cities, but I mean, it's going to get out of hand. But while it's getting out of hand, there's going to be a generation whose mind is on Him, and there's going to be these places of perfect peace
Yeah.
for people
Yeah.
in the midst of turmoil.
Right. I definitely believe that that's one of the places. One of the things that's what Lord told us when we moved here. But I can tell you the enemy's been wanting us to get out of here because it's
Oh, he's going to do everything he can to push you out.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But
Oh yeah.
we're still plowing. So but anyways, so Brad, you got an online school coming. You still taking applications for that or what?
Yeah, we're still taking applications. Yeah, just
How can
just
people?
they can email Susan at Susan at livingvineministries.org.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all make sure that you go register. Email Susan at livingvineministries.org. It's an online school. Are you doing any more physical school lives this year?
Yeah, I am, but I've been praying on where we're going to do it. I haven't come out with any yet, but we'll see. I'm not. I've really been praying, and that kind of drives a lot of people crazy sometimes because I won't do it just to do it. I'm going to really pray and see when the Lord wants to do it.
Yeah. Well, just
I would
know,
like to. I'd like to say it, but
just know, Marcy's already put in the request from the Lord first.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
And no more half weeks.
No, she's not. No, dude. Hey, my wife, she did not like that. So, all right,
man.
Appreciate your time. Everybody, make
Yes,
sure
sir.
you share this and reach out to Brad. Love you, man. I'll talk
I
to
love you too, buddy.
And
All right. Have a
everybody,
good vacation.
I will. That's going to start off with me staining my deck, and it's supposed to be the hottest week here in West Virginia. Praise God.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
pray for me while I'm in Africa.
Oh, that's right. You get ready to go. All right. I'll talk to you and say, God bless you all. Have a wonderful day.